I never imagined a billionaire would find love in a poor cleaner's nightly dance. I will never forget the day everything fell apart. The smell of clean floors mixing with my tears was suffocating. Every night, I put on my worn-out shoes, waiting for the call to clean the grand ballroom of the Harrington Hotel. It's a lavish place, filled with glittering chandeliers and money. So much money, it made me dizzy just to be inside. I couldn't shake the feeling that I didn't belong there. As I scrubbed the gleaming floors, I could hear the laughter and music echoing through the halls. Rich people in flashy dresses, shaking their expensive jewelry as they swayed under the soft, warm lights. I watched them from my corner, feeling invisible, a mere shadow, while they danced. Until one night, something changed. The elegance of it all was mesmerizing. Every polished surface reflected a different reality, whispering secrets I could never touch. That night, as I worked, I felt a pulse in the air, an electric charge. And then I saw him, Jake Harrington, the billionaire's son, captivating and untouchable. He moved through the crowd like he owned the world, handsome and powerful, with dark hair that caught the light. My heartbeat quickened. What was he doing there? He paused, his gaze sweeping over the room, and then, it landed on me. My breath caught, and in that moment, time stood still. I was just a cleaner, but he saw me. I saw me. My heart raced, pounding in my ears, drowning out the music. Could he sense the rhythm of my soul beneath my work clothes? I felt like I was dancing too, though my feet were glued to the ground, but then the moment shattered. A sudden loud crash echoed through the ballroom, piercing the bliss. A glass tumbled, shattering on the floor, drawing surprised gasps from the crowd. Jake's eyes darted away from me, and in an instant, he was consumed by the chaos. My heart sank like a stone. Just as suddenly, the magic evaporated. I was alone again, just a cleaner lost in a sea of silk and shimmering lights. The other servers whispered, their sharp glances cutting into me. What a dreamer, one scoffed. He would never look twice at someone like her. Their laughter echoed in my head, cruel and loud, drowning out the tiniest spark of hope I tried to hold on to. Still, I couldn't shake the vision of his eyes on me. There had to be something more than this life of sweeping floors and scrubbing toilets. Yet, as I cleaned up the remnants of the night, piles of discarded napkins, spilled drinks, I felt a strange warmth creeping into my chest. Maybe I was just a cleaner, but I yearned for something real. Something deeper than money and prestige. Maybe this chaos was the beginning of my story, waiting for the right moment to unfold into something magnificent. Then came the news, just hours later, that Jake had disappeared. No one knew where he was, whispers of trouble following him like shadows beneath the surface of the glitzy party facade. Panic rippled through the staff. The mysterious disappearance of a billionaire sent shockwaves through the town. Was he safe? Was it an accident? A scandal? That lingering gaze haunted me. But I had questions now. Was there more to his story? And what about mine? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button, it really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Each night since Jake's disappearance, the ballroom felt eerily empty. The shimmer of the chandeliers above seemed dulled, their once vibrant light now merely a cold glow, reflecting the absence of laughter and warmth. It was as if the very soul of the place had been snatched away along with him. That I continued my nightly ritual, scrubbing and polishing, my thoughts constantly returning to that fleeting moment when our eyes met. Though I was surrounded by other servers whispering about rumors of his alleged troubles, the loneliness wrapped around me like a heavy cloak. The whispers clipped at my spirit, each word a reminder of the chasm between us, yet, desperation and hope tangled together in a dance of their own. I took solace in the rhythm of the mop in my hand, pouring my emotions into the monotonous task. Every stroke against the floor became an expression of my longing, scrubbing away my fears. As if each motion could draw him back into my world, if only for a moment. It was during one of these late-night rituals when I caught sight of an unexpected figure by the entrance. It was a small boy, no older than 8, face smudged with dirt and eyes wide with wonder. He peered into the ballroom, where shadows lingered, heart racing in time with the faint music that still echoed in the empty space. "Hey, little one," I called softly, kneeling to meet his gaze. "What are you doing out here?" He looked up at me, a flicker of hope in his eyes. "I came to see if the dancing is as pretty as they say," he replied, his voice barely a whisper, as if afraid of breaking the spell of the moment. I smiled at him, and in that instant, something lightened inside me. "Would you like to see?" I asked, feeling the warmth of a memory rise within me. I stood, extending my hand toward the ballroom. Moments later, I had the boy twirling in the middle of that grand hall, the moonlight spilling through the tall windows casting soft, ethereal shadows. Laughter broke from him, a sound so pure that it pierced through my grief like a sunbeam through the clouds. I couldn't help but join in, the weight of my sadness lifting just a little, as I recalled how Jake had danced through the crowd that night, full of joy, full of life, but that joy was short-lived. Just as the boy began to lose himself in the rhythm, the doors swung open and an elegant figure stepped inside. It was Amelia, the head housekeeper, her sharp eyes catching the slightest flicker of happiness on my face. "What's going on here?" she asked, her voice dripping with disapproval. I felt a heat rush to my cheeks as she scrutinized our playful moment. "Just showing him the ballroom," I stammered, but her gaze held a different message, one that said childhood dreams were not welcome within these walls. Amelia approached the boy, forcing him to stop spinning and stand still. Her expression softened ever so slightly, but the edges of her mouth still curled in a stern manner. "You should be back with your parents. This place is no place for children, but I just wanted to see the dances." His face fell, squeezed between the walls of adult disapproval and his innocent desires. I stepped forward, feeling a surge of protectiveness toward him. "Maybe you could come back another time when it's less busy," I offered, though the words felt flimsy against Amelia's imposing presence. She rolled her eyes and waved him off, saying that the likes of children shouldn't linger where they don't belong. As the boy walked away, I felt an overwhelming sadness claw at my heart. I had tasted hope, even if only for a fleeting moment, and it was cruelly snatched away. The absent laughter echoed painfully in my mind, and I turned back to the endless task of cleaning, trying to scrub away the weight of regret that lingered on my skin. My heart once again filled with a bittersweet longing for Jake. I needed to understand why he had disappeared, what kind of world he lived in that could swallow him whole. Perhaps daring to dig deeper would uncover something I never imagined, something that might lay bare the reality of the man I had barely begun to know. Just as I picked my mop back up, I felt my heartbeat quicken, my palms clammy with anticipation. The door to the ballroom clicked open once more, and a figure stepped through the threshold. My breath hitched in my throat. Jake. He looked disheveled, haunted, even dark shadows beneath his eyes. But what struck me the most was the urgency in his gaze as he locked eyes with me, a burning question evident on his face. "I need to talk to you," he said, his voice low and frantic. The world around us dissolved, leaving just him and me in that moment, time pausing as possibility ignited, but just as I took a step toward him, the lights flickered, and the ballroom's splendor seemed to dim. I knew he would not be here long. Whatever had pulled him back was about to drag him away again. That spark of hope turned into a desperate flame, but as it flickered, I realized one thing: it was now or never. The whirlwind of emotions left me breathless, half abandoned in the luminous expanse of the ballroom. Jake's presence ignited a wild hope, one I dared to nurture as he stood there, searching for the right words. I could see the weight of the world pressing down on his shoulders, and that alone anchored me in a fragile moment of connection. "Jake," I breathed, my voice barely a whisper. I longed to reach out and touch him, to somehow pull him closer to the warmth of the light flickering between us. But fear gripped me. What happened to him? What did he need to tell me that he couldn't say in the sparkling haze of the dances we once shared? He ran a hand through his disheveled hair, and in that singular motion, everything felt heavier yet more profound. I wasn't going to come back. Not like this. But I need you to understand. There's so much I haven't told you. The invisible clock above us ticked ominously. I could almost feel the minutes collapsing, longing for the sweetness of stolen moments. You're here now, I urged, hoping to anchor him, tether our souls in this fleeting space. You don't have to explain everything right away. Just stay a moment longer. His eyes darkened, though his breath caught for a moment. A flicker of hope appeared briefly at the corners of his lips, but it faded almost instantly, as if he were battling with a storm of fears within. I can't. They'll find me. They'll know I came here. Delight and dread twisted together in my heart. Who will find you? My voice trembled with worry. What's going on, Jake? But just then, the echo of cruel reality shattered the thin cocoon of hope I had built. The ballroom doors swung open again, accompanied by the thunder of footsteps urgent and deliberate. A group of men spilled into the room, their sharp suits an unyielding contrast to the delicate splendor surrounding us. My heart raced, sensing the tension creep under my skin. Get away from him. One of the men barked, his tone cold and commanding. Jake turned toward them, his eyes narrowing in a flash of defiance. No, please, just listen to me. Jake stepped between me and the advancing figures, his desperation apparent. You don't understand. I need to talk to her. Just give me a minute, the lead man smirked, a cruel expression edged with disdain. You think you're still important to her? You think you can just walk back into her life after everything? The sting of those words cut through me like shards of glass, sending tremors through my already shattered heart. I glanced at Jake, trying to gauge his thoughts, to find a flicker of reassurance in his sea of turmoil. Instead, I was met with fear and determination etched across his handsome features. Please, I whispered, wanting to forge a path through the chaos, to rescue him from this web, but I felt powerless, lost in the swirling storm. One of the men pushed Jake roughly aside, and he stumbled, but I caught him, holding him tight, desperate to shield him from this cruel world. Just leave us. I shouted, my voice rising with a heat that surprised even me. What do you want from him? He's not a threat. The lead man regarded me with a smirk. You really don't know what you're getting into, do you? There was a complexity in his voice that sent shivers down my spine. This isn't about him, this is about consequences. I felt the color drain from my face as the implication dawned on me. Whatever Jake had gotten entangled in went far deeper than I ever imagined. The spark of hope I had ignited began to flicker again, smothered by the harsh light of reality. Jake turned to me, urgency flooding his gaze. You have to go. I can't let you get dragged into this. Promise me you'll leave, just go back to your life. No, Jake. I won't abandon you. The vow flew from my lips unbidden, a declaration against the rising tide of fear. I'll stand by you, whatever you're facing. Whatever it is, we can figure it out together. But just as I sealed my promise with resolve, the men stepped closer. With heavy hands, they grabbed Jake by the arms. He flinched but then steadied himself, an unyielding spirit shining through the chaotic grip of fate. Let him go. I cried, stepping forward with urgency, my heart pounding relentlessly in my chest. What do you want? Their leader leaned in closer, the specter of danger cloaking his words. That's the thing, he murmured. This is no longer your choice. As Jake's eyes locked onto mine, pleading and fierce, uncertainty filled the space between us. In that moment, as the cold hands of fate threatened to wrench him from my grasp, I understood that my fight had only just begun. My breath hitched as they retreated with him, dragging him toward the door, a whirlwind of shadows spilling out behind them. I'll find you, Jake. I promise. I shouted, my voice wavering as the echoes faded into the night, leaving me with nothing but the void where he had just stood. The chilling realization settled over me. Our lives were irrevocably entwined in a danger I couldn't fathom, and I was left standing alone in the cavernous ballroom, shadows shifting around me like specters of lost hope. The walls seemed to close in, the laughter from earlier consumed by my pounding heart. How could love exist in a world so cruel? As I crumpled to the floor, the glimmering chandeliers now felt like mockeries of what had been a stark reminder that love sometimes comes at a price we're terrified to pay. The echo of hushed voices wrapped around me like tendrils of smoke, suffocating and heavy. I had always dreamed of romance, of serene dances beneath chandeliers, of glances filled with unspoken words. Yet here I was, enveloped in a tempest of chaos, the the tender dream now twisted into a nightmare that I pressed my back against the cold wall of the ballroom, tears blurring my vision. Jake was gone. With every beat of my heart, it felt like a piece of me was being stolen away. I buried my face in my hands, the disbelief mingling with the searing ache in my chest. I had vowed to stand by him, but it was clear that fate had other plans. Moments ticked by as I tried to compose myself, taking deep breaths that stung my lungs. The laughter of the remaining partygoers felt invasive, their joy a striking reminder of my personal despair. I needed to act to find a way to reach Jake, to uncover the mystery he had been entangled in. Pushing myself up from the ground, I scanned the ballroom, my heart still thundering in my chest. The laughter continued, but I felt estranged from the joy which once painted my life. With resolve flooding through me, I slipped through the edges of the festivities, seeking an exit where the pressing throngs couldn't follow. As I left the ballroom, the cool night air hit me, an electric reminder that the world was still turning outside the exquisite confines of the party. I could hear the rustle of leaves and the distant sounds of cars, but what echoed in my mind were Jake's haunted eyes, filled with an urgency I couldn't understand. I pulled my phone from my pocket, fingers trembling as I sought his number. But instead of calling, I found myself scrolling through our messages, reading his words, the sweetness of our past tainted by the uncertainty of his present. I stared at the screen, wishing I could bridge the distance that loomed between us. As I ventured toward a nearby alley, a flicker of movement caught my eye. A stray cat emerged, its fur matted but its eyes sharp and bright. It paused, looking at me with the same raw vulnerability I felt, before cautiously stepping closer. In its presence, I found an odd comfort, as if the universe was whispering the simplest truth, that love, in all its forms, knows how to endure. Suddenly, my phone buzzed violently in my hand. My heart raced as I checked to see a message lighting up the screen, a simple notification from Jake's account. My breath hitched as I opened it, waiting for the impossible but desperately hoping for something. I'm okay. Stay safe. I'll find you. But as I read those words, a dark realization settled deep in me. It felt too abrupt, too calculated. I hurried through the narrow alley, trapped in a spiral of adrenaline and anxiety, seeking a path to understand what this meant. The vibrant pulse of the city hummed around me, indifferent to my turmoil. My heart sank with every passing moment. If he was okay, why was I feeling like the impending storm still loomed? Just as uncertainty clawed tight around me, I spotted something lying at the mouth of the alley, an envelope, sealed and unmarked. Against my better judgment, I approached it with a mixture of dread and hope. I knelt down, my fingers trembling as I picked it up and opened it. Inside was a small flash drive with a handwritten note attached, for the truth. My hands shook, a premonition rooting itself deep into my gut. Was this a trap? Or was it Jake's way of reaching out, of giving me a clue into whatever had entangled him in such danger? With one last look at the edge of the alley, the void left by Jake's departure swelled again, but a flicker of resilience pushed against the overwhelming fear. I pressed the flash drive to my chest, feeling the weight of the unknown ahead. As I turned to leave, a figure emerged from the shadows, a tall man with a striking presence that sent icy tendrils of trepidation coursing through me. His expression was unreadable, but his eyes were sharp, focused, calculating. Looking for something? He asked, his voice smooth yet menacing, as if he were toying with delighted knowledge. My heart raced as the darkness closed in once more. I didn't know whether to run or confront him. Instead, the determination to get answers froze me in place. Whatever the truth was, I was going to learn it, no matter what cost it demanded. And as I took a deep breath, steeling my resolve against the uncertainty ahead, the realization dawned in me: this was just the beginning of our fight, not only for love but for the very truth of who we were, entwined in both light and darkness. The figure leaned against the wall, partially obscured by the shadows, just enough to plant doubt in my mind. The tension coiled tightly in my chest. If I ran, I might lose the only lead I had regarding Jake's situation. But if I stayed, I could be walking straight into a trap. Who are you? I managed to stammer, drawing on every ounce of courage I could muster. My eyes darted toward the exit, weighing my options, but his presence had a magnetic pull that kept me rooted to the spot. A friend. Or perhaps an enemy, depending on what you seek. He tilts his head slightly, his gaze piercing through the murkiness of the alley. "You're searching for the truth about Jake, aren't you?" Swallowing hard, I nodded cautiously. Trust was a luxury I couldn't afford, yet in a strange way, he seemed to recognize the same restless turmoil that gripped my heart. He took a cautious step closer, as though trying to gauge my reaction, and in that fleeting moment, I caught a glimmer of something. Regret? Concern? "You need to understand," he continued, his voice taking on a solemn edge, "this world is not what it seems. Jake is tangled in forces far beyond anything you can imagine." With every breath, apprehension coiled tighter around me, but there was an undeniable spark igniting my curiosity. "What do you know?" He hesitated, his gaze turning momentarily pained. "More than I care to. But if you want answers, you need to take the next step." He gestured toward the envelope in my hand. "What you have there is a key. What you choose to do with it will determine your destiny." And Jake's that I held the flash drive tightly, the weight of the decision digging into me like 1,000 needles. Was I really prepared to dive deeper into a world of secrets and shadows for someone who hadn't explained himself? "What are you really saying?" I pressed, my voice quavering. "What do I need to know?" "Everything," he replied with finality. "But what you find may shatter everything you believe about him and about yourself." The vulnerability in his voice, alongside the strangeness of his assurances, kindled a flame of truth inside me. "Why should I trust you?" He paused, his eyes reflecting a flicker of something, perhaps honesty or pain. "Because I knew Jake before he became lost in this life. And I can help you bring him back." The words lingered, heavy and charged. My heart wavered between a trepidation born of fear and a simmering rage at the thought of Jake in danger, all stemming from his past. "What do I need to do?" "Meet me tomorrow at the old pier," he instructed, swiftly, as if time were a crumbling thread. "By noon. Bring the drive. And whatever you do, stay alert. There are eyes everywhere." With that, he stepped back into the shadows, leaving me alone with the gnawing uncertainty and newfound questions. The night seemed to grow darker, the hum of the city fading as I processed what had just unfolded. I returned to where I'd found the envelope, my heart beleaguered yet stimulated with the urgency of lingering hope and uncertainty. I had a chance to understand Jake, to fight not just for our love but to confront whatever danger had gripped him. But would I lose myself in the process? The cool breeze swept through the alley, its chilly fingers sending shivers down my spine, revealing how vastly the world outside had changed even if I had not. As I turned to leave, a sudden memory surfaced. The way Jake's laughter had once filled the void of my own quiet existence, how his presence had wrapped me in warmth. The thought of that feeling propelled me forward, driving away the doubts gathering in the corners of my mind. I took a deep breath, willing myself to embrace whatever paths lay ahead. Yet as I stepped into the street, a sinking realization gripped my heart. The text he had sent felt distant, a hollow promise. Underneath that layer of hope, shadows danced ominously, whispering that there was something deeper lurking, more danger than I'd comprehended. Just as I reached for my phone, it vibrated again. A new message floated across the screen from an unknown number. My heart raced at the words displayed. "They're watching. Be careful who you trust." Chills cascaded through me as I stared at the screen, a mixture of fear and determination gripping me. The stakes were higher than ever. The line between safety and peril was razor thin, and in that moment, I understood with clarity this journey was far from over. It had merely begun. The cold morning air felt like ice against my skin as I stood before the old pier, the salty breeze whipping through the air like an omen. I clutched the flash drive tightly, its presence both a lifeline and a burden, tethering me to my hope for Jake and the twisted maze I had agreed to navigate. My heart pounded in my chest, the world around me blurring into an indistinct haze of muted colors as I replayed what could await me. The stillness was a stark contrast to the chaos within me. I scanned the horizon for any sign of the shadowy figure from last night, half expecting him to materialize from the fog like an apparition. Every tick of the clock felt like an eternity, and the anxiety clawed at my insides. Was I really prepared to risk everything for the sake of someone who had likely plunged headfirst into a world of danger? My thoughts drifted to Jake, recalling the way he used to study the waves as if they spoke secrets only he could decipher. I could picture the way his eyes sparkled with a mix of hope and mischief, as though he held the mysteries of the universe just behind his smile. Now, fear clouded those same depths, and I felt that spark flicker out into the dark, just as the tide pulled back. Then, the sound of footsteps on the weather-beaten wood pulled me from my reverie. My pulse quickened, and I turned to see a figure approaching, a woman, perhaps in her early 30s, clad in a faded leather jacket, hair cascading wildly over her shoulders. "Are you waiting for someone?" she asked, her voice laced with an unfiltered curiosity that I startled at her sudden presence, caught off guard as I tried to gauge her intentions. Did she belong to the same shadowy undercurrent that threatened to drown me? "I am just here for a meeting," her gaze softened as she stepped closer, seemingly measuring my apprehension. "You're searching for someone, aren't you?" My instinct was to veer away from her question, but the weight of my emotions pressed me to be honest. "Yes. My boyfriend. He's been in trouble." Understanding flickered across her face, making her appear almost human amidst the chaotic storms swirling inside me. "I've been there." The sincerity in her tone anchored me, if only for a moment. "What do you mean?" "I know what it's like to love someone on the edge," she said softly, a veil of sadness enveloping her too. "I lost my brother to this life. You hear me? It consumes everything." The confession reverberated within me, and before I knew it, words slipped out. "I can't lose Jake. I need to help him, but I feel so lost. Everything feels like it's closing in. Sometimes, hope feels like a thin thread," she murmured, her eyes bearing witness to an inexplicable warmth. "But you can't let go. You have to reach for it, even if it means risking more than you ever thought you could handle." For the first time that morning, I felt a glimmer of fragile connection that reminded me I wasn't alone in this fight. "Have you ever seen him?" I pressed, yearning for information. "Jake?" She hesitated, the hesitation unspoken yet palpable. "No. But be careful. The people who took him, they're connected to a bigger network than you realize. The wrong move can lead you straight into danger." The words settled heavy in my chest, merging with my own fears. But they also ignited a fierce determination within me. "I can't turn back," she nodded solemnly, and just then, a horn bellowed nearby, causing us both to turn. A car, black and sleek, pulled up beside us, and my heart skipped a beat. The driver's window rolled down, revealing the familiar face of the man from last night. "Are you coming?" he called, his demeanor unreadable. That I felt torn between the woman's caution and the urge to follow this shadowy figure who held the key to Jake's fate. "Do you trust him?" she asked, her voice low yet intense enough to catch my attention. "That I don't know," I admitted, the truth weighing heavy on my lips. As the minutes ticked by, I glanced between them, each representing my diverging paths, one grounded in a compassionate reminder of loss, the other brimming with intrigue and danger. The choice loomed over me like an impending storm that in an instant, the weight of uncertainty shattered my resolve. "I need to find Jake. I have to." With that, I stepped toward the car, leaving the woman standing at the pier, regret mingling with hope in her expression. She seemed to grasp the tumult within me, but I had crossed a bridge. There was no turning back. As I slid into the back seat, the air thickened with tension. The man regarded me with a mix of respect and apprehension. "You're making the right choice," he said carefully, the faintest hint of admiration in his voice. With the door closing behind me, sealing my decision, I couldn't shake the feeling that I had just taken a step deeper into a chasm of uncertainty. Jake's fate lay hidden in the shadows, but now, I was willingly descending into the heart of that darkness where light seemed a distant memory. As the car pulled away, I caught one last glimpse of the woman from the pier, her expression lingering in my mind, a haunting reminder of the risks I chose to embrace. Little did I know that before this day ended, would uncover secrets that would change everything I believed, not only about Jake but about myself as well. The sound of the engine roared as we picked up speed, but my heart felt stationary, gripped by an anxious tension. The man in the front seat, Nathan, as had introduced himself, shifted gears, glancing at me in the rearview mirror. I caught a fleeting glimpse of a conflicted emotion in his eyes, but he quickly masked it, focusing on the road ahead. A million questions danced in my mind, each demanding answers. "Where are we going?" I finally asked, my voice more defiant than I felt. "There's a lead," he replied, his tone clipped. "A place I think we can find some information on Jake." The urgency in his words made my heart quicken, yet doubt tangled with my desperation. How could I trust anything he said? The memory of the woman at the pier returned like a shadow, whispering caution in my ear. You mentioned a network. What do you really know about this? Nathan stole another glance at me, his jaw clenched as if he was wrestling with his own confessions. More than you think. Jake got tangled up with a group that's dangerous in ways I can't describe. I didn't want you involved, but you made your choice. My stomach twisted. What does that mean? Are you saying I should be afraid? Because I am. He nodded slightly, the weight of his acknowledgement heavy in the confined space. Fear is a good instinct. Use it to stay alert, to guide your actions. Silence enveloped us for a moment, punctuated only by the throaty revving of the engine and the rhythmic sound of tires on asphalt. Each bump in the road felt like jolts of anxiety coursing through me, thoughts spiraling into countless scenarios of what might await us. What do you know about Jake's situation? I pressed, gripping the edge of the seat as hope intertwined with dread in my chest. I've only been on the periphery of it, he admitted. But what I do know is that once you're in, it's nearly impossible to get out. If Jake has crossed certain lines, his voice trailed off, leaving an unsettling cliffhanger. With every passing block, the weight of his words throbbed inside me. What if I was chasing a ghost? What if the truth about Jake was far darker than I could bear? My mind raced, struggling to reconcile the boy I loved with the potential monster lurking in the depths of his choices. That glint in his eyes when he spoke of dreams, that laughter that once felt like sunlight, had it all been a facade hiding a damaging reality? The car veered into an unfamiliar, dimly lit alley, the kind where shadows pooled like secrets waiting to suffocate. Nathan parked and looked back at me, his gaze was serious. Stay close, follow my lead. I nodded, the uncertainty swelling yet again. As we stepped out, a biting wind scurried through the alley, making me shiver not only from the cold but from the weight of the choices I had made, choices that could spiral into irrevocable consequences. Nathan led me down a narrow pathway, the walls coated with graffiti, vibrant colors clashing against the dull gray of the concrete. Each step felt as if it echoed against the walls of my heart, each rhythm amplifying my doubts. I couldn't help but feel like a puppet being led toward inevitable darkness, yet every step screamed for the tether of hope to prevail. As we approached a door marked with a flickering light, Nathan leaned close. Inside is a contacta woman who knows things. They've got eyes everywhere, so be careful what you say. I swallowed hard, fear mingling with adrenaline in my veins. Nathan knocked twice on the door, the sound of it feeling unbearably loud in the hush of the alley. A moment later, it opened. The woman who stood before us embodied the chaos of the life we were about to step into. Her eyes flicked over Nathan, then landed on me with an intensity that felt both unsettling and riveting. You brought her? She asked, amusement mingling with skepticism. Yes, Nathan replied tersely, stepping aside for her to take in my presence fully. We need information on Jake. Her laughter erupted like a crack in the darkness, filling the close air with curiosity. You're looking for him, aren't you? But the question is, what are you willing to pay? For it? A chill crept down my spine, twisting my initial rush of hope into something more sinister. What do you mean? I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. Nothing is free in this world. She leaned back against the door frame, her posture casual but her gaze unwavering. You want answers? You have to give something in return. The question is, how far are you willing to go? In my heart, I felt the first tendrils of the true horror of my situation unfolding. Before I could respond, the alley behind me filled with the shouts of men, breaking the fragile moment. The night had erupted into chaos. Nathan's expression shifted to one of urgency. We have to go, now, he snapped. Panic coursed through me as he grabbed my wrist, pulling me toward the back of the building. The thrill of danger collided violently with the desperation to find Jake, each emotion muddling the clarity of my resolve. As we ducked behind a dumpster, desperately trying to mask our presence, I caught Nathan's eyes. A brutal truth flickered within them. They know you're here, he breathed, the weight of doom rasping in his voice. You might be out of time. Everything I had crossed for now hung in the balance of this unfolding nightmare, the shadows around us closing in while my heart raced louder than ever. In this moment, I realized that I stood on the precipice of knowing Jake's truth, a truth that might tear apart the very fabric of the love I thought we shared. Would I still want to find him after tonight? As the world collapsed into chaos around me, I knew deep down that the answer might shatter everything I had ever believed. The darkened alley felt suffocating, the threats of the outside world bleeding into the fragile cocoon Nathan and I had created behind the dumpster. The harsh shouting of men echoed off the alley walls, sharp and urgent. Each call felt like a whip crack against my consciousness, reminding me that I wasn't just chasing Jake. I was in a fight for my very sense of truth and love. "Stay low," Nathan whispered, his grip tightening around my wrist as he peered cautiously over the side of the dumpster. I followed suit, instinctively drawing in the breath that tethered me to the hope of what lay beyond this moment. What would I find waiting in the chaos? I had to discover the truth about Jake, yet I could feel the tremors of fear shifting the foundations of my resolve. A moment passed where the world outside the dumpster seemed to hold its breath, the voices of the men growing distant until one of them spat a curse close enough that it made my heart lurch. "Move!" Nathan hissed suddenly, pulling me away from our temporary refuge. We ducked down another side path, the scent of damp concrete and iron sharpening the senses that had dulled with each passing second. My mind reeled with thoughts of Jake. Where was he now? Was he caught up in this madness? With each corner we turned, shadows seemed to stretch and warp, taunting me with the possibility of an escape that could just as easily turn into a trap. "Where is this contact of yours?" I asked urgently as we ducked into another alley, hoping for a sliver of respite. "Just ahead," he replied, his eyes scanning the surroundings as if searching for threats in every shadow. "But we need to be quick. If they see us before he could finish," an arm shot out, grabbing Nathan by the collar and slamming him against the wall. My breath caught in my throat as fear overpowered reason. I recognized one of the men from outside, his face twisted into a snarl, eyes filled with something more dangerous than anger, an unholy mix of betrayal and greed. "Thought you could sneak off, huh?" The man growled, pushing Nathan harder against the concrete. A flicker of panic ignited within me. It was too late to shelter myself in hope. I had to act that in an instant. I found myself stepping forward. "Stop!" I shouted, my voice tearing from my throat in desperation. I didn't know what propelled me, but something inside demanded I intervene. "Let him go." Both men turned to me, confusion painted on their faces before the sneer returned to the attacker's lips. "Oh, sweet girl. You shouldn't have come. You're just a pawn in something way over your head." That I felt my heart pounding, an erratic reverb that drowned out reason. The man was right, I was utterly out of my depth, yet I pressed on, my voice more firm than I felt. "Jake's in danger, isn't he? If you know anything about him, you have to tell me." The man loomed closer, his breath foul and heavy, carrying the scent of cigarettes and regrets. "You want to find Jake? You need to learn how to play the game. And trust me, it's a dirty one." Nathan moved slightly, his eyes glinting in the dim light, silently urging me to back away. "Lila, it's not worth it. We need to go." But a flicker of something urgently echoed through me: curiosity, determination, and dread weaving a tapestry of reckless courage. "No," I insisted, trying to keep my voice steady as I focused on the eyes of the man before me. "If there's a chance you can help, I need you to take it." The man laughed, a harsh sound that made my skin crawl. "You think you can bargain with me? You don't even know what it costs. What he owes isn't just money, it's blood." His words cut deep, sending a rush of disbelief running through me. Blood? What had Jake gotten himself into? Nathan stiffened beside me, and for a brief moment, I caught a glimpse of his fear mirrored in my own. I said, "Let him go." Nathan shouted, panic breaking through his controlled demeanor. Before I could process the situation fully, the man shifted, momentarily distracted, his attention briefly leaving us as he scanned the alleyway, perhaps sensing the rising tension around us. It felt like a moment suspended in time, and I seized it. "Leave us," I said, my voice steadier than I felt, drawing from the well of emotions that raged within. "I will do anything to save Jake. You must know how dangerous this is. He deserves a chance." The man's smirk faded at my fervor, morphing into a gaze layered with intrigue, tinged with a flicker of respect mixed with disdain. "Anything?" he questioned, leaning in closer, his voice conspiratorial now, devoid of its previous contempt. "Yes," I replied, feeling every part of me tremble as I spoke the truth I was coming to grasp. "Whatever it takes." That he straightened, the wheels in his mind visibly turning, and I was struck by the realization that I had placed a bet over something precious, something I may have wanted to protect at all costs, yet I was flirted with the danger of losing the very thing I sought to save. Just then, the cacophony in the distance surged anew, the men from earlier returning with more urgency. "They're coming!" Nathan shouted, his voice cutting through the tension like a knife, reaching out for me. In that moment, the man's expression turned serious, no longer a threat but a calculating player in a twisted game. "Meet me at sunset by the old warehouse on the east side. Be prepared to pay the price if you want to find him." Then, without warning, he released Nathan, his body shifting as he stepped back into the shadows, an eerie grin settling on his lips. "She's got guts, your girl," I heard him say softly, an echo trailing off as he vanished into the depths of the darkness. Nathan quickly pulled me away, the weight of his worry wrapped around us tightly. "What did you do?" he whispered harshly, dragging me toward an exit from the alley. I needed to know. "We might find Jake," I argued, fighting against the shaking in my voice. But doubts began to ricochet in my mind once more. What if I had just thrown myself into a deeper pit of deception? As we stepped into the night, the cool air was a stark contrast against the warmth of desperation pooling inside me. The city sprawled before us, and with it, the looming possibility that by seeking the truth, I was threatening everything I knew and cared for. "Lila, focus," Nathan said, his voice lower but grounded in urgency. "If this is going to work, we need a plan. You can't lose yourself to this." We're in over our heads, but as we moved away from the alley, my heart ached with realization Jake was always a part of the danger, but now it felt like he could become the very thing that could unravel me. The truths that lay ahead could shatter not only the love I thought I had known but the very fabric of my being, and as we planted our feet on the pavement, readying ourselves for the next step in this harrowing journey, I realized suddenly that the stakes were higher than either of us had anticipated. Love, loyalty, and betrayal entangled in a web I was desperately seeking to untangle before it ensnared my soul. "Tomorrow, we meet him," I stated, a thread of resolve anchoring my voice. "Tomorrow, we pay the price," Nathan echoed, his gaze shadowed with uncertainty, our fates printed on the reckless winds of an uncertain future. As the city loomed around us, I couldn't shake the chilling thought. Would I still recognize the love I sought amid this brewing storm, or would it all become an echo lost to the night? The next day dawned with an unsettling stillness, the edges of the sky tinged with muted gold as I gazed from my window. The sunlight, so often a herald of hope, felt more like a spotlight, amplifying the cracks of uncertainty in my heart. Nathan sat across the small table, a mug of coffee cradled in his hands, his gaze intense yet distant, consumed by the whirlwind of thoughts that surely mirrored my own. "Are you ready for this?" Nathan finally asked, breaking the silence. His voice was low, heavy with concern. It pierced through my emotional fog, reminding me of the task that lay ahead. "That I have to be," I replied, my voice unsteady but defiant. "For Jake." I forced my thoughts back to him, the way his laughter lit corners of my world that had long been shrouded in darkness. The memory of his smile felt like a flicker of light guiding me, a beacon amidst the tumult of fear. As the hour approached that would send us to the old warehouse, time ticked by agonizingly slow. The afternoon stretched with a palpable tension, and I could feel the weight of my decisions bearing down on me like an iron shackle. What price would this dark figure demand for Jake's return? Nathan broke my spiral of thought, pushing back his chair. "We should go soon," he urged, standing with a firmness I found reassuring even in my state of tumult. I nodded, my pulse quickening as we stepped out into the bustling streets. The city was alive, oblivious to the turmoil brewing within us. Every passerby seemed to carry their burdens, and I wondered if any of them were battling with the shadows that laced the edges of their hearts as I was. As we walked toward our meeting place, the uncertainty thickened the air around us. I subtly reached for Nathan's hand, seeking comfort in his presence. He squeezed my fingers gently, grounding me amidst the whirlwind of daunting possibilities. This was our unspoken pact, an alliance formed not just of circumstance but a shared desire to save a loved one, however perilous the path. The warehouse loomed ahead, an imposing structure draped in shadows, memories of brighter days stolen away by its desolation. My heart raced with dread as we approached, each step echoing the internal conflict brewing deep within me. Would this be the place where I found Jake, or where I lost everything I had left? When we entered, the vast emptiness swallowed our voices. Dust motes danced in the streaming light from cracked windows, casting ethereal shapes against the cold concrete. Anxiety twisted my stomach as we scanned the room, searching for the shadow that embodied our fears. And then we saw him. The man from last night leaned casually against a rusting beam, a predatory grin stretching across his face as if he had been expecting us all along. His presence swelled with an unsettling authority, and I could feel the air grow heavier. It was as if the warehouse itself dreaded his arrival. "Glad you two could make it," he drawled, each word dripping with mockery. "Ready to barter, where's Jake?" I demanded, forcing the words out through the creeping fear that tried to clog my throat. "Oh, he's safe for now," he replied, feigning innocence that was anything but genuine. "But safety comes at a cost, and you're the one holding the purse strings." My heart dropped as I felt a cold sweat form on my brow. "What do you want?" I asked, desperate to keep the trembling from my voice. That he chuckled, the sound curling like smoke in the silence. "You still don't know how deep this goes, do you? Jake owes more than just money. He's tangled up with some powerful people who might not be so forgiving if he doesn't deliver." Nathan stepped forward, protective. "What does that have to do with us? Just tell us how to get him back. Calm down, hero." "It's simple," he said, tilting his head, feigning consideration. "You do a little job for me, and it'll make sure your precious Jake walks free. No blood on my hands, and you'll have yourself a boyfriend again. Just tell us what we need to do," I urged, desperately trying to maintain my composure. I couldn't let him perceive any weakness I wouldn't allow. "This darkness to consume me. Tonight, you're going to meet a friend of mine," he continued, his smile fading into something more ominous. "Deal with him, help me gather some information they've been hiding. Your knowledge will determine Jake's fate." "Why us?" Nathan interjected. "Why not send someone else?" The man shrugged, an amusement glimmering in his eyes. "Because, my friend, I sense you both have a certain tenacity. If I'm going to play this dangerous game, I want to make sure my pawns are willing to stake everything." The choice loomed before us, steeped in shadows and uncertainty. My heart raced as I felt the weight of the decision. Would I sacrifice even more to have Jake back? Both Nathan and I shared a glance, a silent understanding of the peril that lay ahead. As I nodded in reluctant agreement, the man's eyes lit up with a feral excitement, like a wolf at the gates of opportunity. "Excellent choice," he exclaimed. But remember, his voice lowered into something more sinister. "This is not just a game of cards. The price you pay may be higher than you can imagine." As we turned to leave, my heart pounded louder than the moments before. With every step, the reality of our situation crystallized more harshly. I had stepped into the abyss, both feet planted firmly in the darkness, and the only way to save Jake might unravel the bonds of love that had carried me this far. And just as we reached the edge of the threshold, he called after us, voice lingering in the air like a whisper of smoke, "Just know that the truth doesn't always set you free. Sometimes, it chains you in ways you can't foresee." With dread knotting my stomach, I stepped outside, the cool night air hitting me like a rush of adrenaline. My mind raced with the man's words, uncertainty thickening the atmosphere. Had I chosen wisely, or had I just gambled with the last shreds of my integrity? As we melded back into the night, I knew one thing for certain: the journey ahead would test everything I had, and as the city pulsed with an electric life, it mirrored the beats of my heart filled with dread and hope. Would I unravel love or be consumed by it? The only certainty was that the next chapter of my life would be written in shadows, one desperate choice at a time. I never expected that a confrontation with darkness would lead me to the possibility of light. The weight of the decisions I had made bore down on me as Nathan and I walked toward the rendezvous point. Each footstep felt like a countdown to the truth demanding to be uncovered, the truth about Jake, a truth that twisted through my veins like a tightly coiled spring ready to unravel. The streets were alive with a vibrant chaos, yet my mind echoed with the heavy silence of uncertainty, an incessant reminder of everything I risked for someone I loved. The scent of gasoline mixed with the night air, and the neon signs flickered above us like restless spirits, watching our every move. I clutched the flash drive tightly in my pocket, every instinct screaming as if it carried Jake's essence, tethering me to the fragile hope that awaited beyond the darkness. We reached the nondescript bar, its scarred wooden door looming like a portal into a world I hadn't yet fathomed. Nathan pushed the door open, the creaking sound almost loud enough to drown out the pounding of my heart. As we stepped inside, muted conversations swirled around us, masking the urgency cloaked within my chest. "Just remember," Nathan whispered, his voice low. "Stay focused. We don't know who else might be here." I nodded, biting my lip and scanning the room. My thoughts raced. Was this where we'd find answers? Was I ready to confront whatever awaited us in the depths of this unknown territory? As I shifted nervously, a figure rose from a back booth, breaking free of shadows like an apparition come to life. She was a woman, fierce and unyielding, with a commanding presence that drew attention even amid the murmur of the crowd. Her eyes landed on me, a piercing gaze that felt like she was peeling away the layers of my facade to see the raw truth beneath. "You must be Lila," she said, her voice steady yet laced with an unspoken challenge. "I'm Kira. You've come seeking Jake." "Yes," I replied, my voice steady despite the tremor inside. "We need information about his whereabouts, who he's involved with everything." She sat back against the booth, measuring my resolve. "You do realize you're stepping into dangerous waters, right? This isn't just a matter of location. You're treading into a web that could ensnare you." A shiver of apprehension crept through me, but I pressed on, determined. "I understand that, but Jake means everything to me. I can't just walk away without trying." Kira smiled slightly, a semblance of appreciation in her gaze. "That's the spirit. But before we proceed, you'll need to make a choice. The truth you seek may not only reveal Jake's fate but could change everything you thought you knew about yourself as well." "What do you mean?" I asked, confusion flooding my mind. "I just want to find him." Kira leaned forward, intensity cutting through the haze of uncertainty. "What you believe love is may be torn apart when you learn what he's truly involved in. Relationships can twist in ways you never anticipated." My heart sank, a lump forming in my throat as her words resonated, a haunting echo of my own fears. "Is he in danger?" I pressed urgently. Her eyes narrowed slightly, weighing the truth. "Jake is connected to forces that reach far deeper than your average man. These people don't play fair. They take, and they don't give back. If you want to save him, you'll need to be ready." A wave of vulnerability washed over me, apprehension wrapping around my heart like a shroud. "What do I have to do?" I asked, my voice trembling ever so slightly. "You have to be willing to step into their world," she replied. "Confront them on their terms and recover what Jake has lost. Only then will you have a chance at bringing him back." My breath caught, realization crashing through me as images of Jake in distress flickered behind my closed eyes. The blood, the danger, this was more than I ever anticipated. "What if I'm not strong enough?" I whispered, wrestling with the doubt that clawed at the edges of my resolve. Kira's expression softened. "Strength isn't just in the bravado, it's in the willingness to face fear. If you intend to unravel this, you need to trust yourself. Otherwise, he might become a ghost you chase forever." Her words stirred something deep within me, an unyielding flame igniting every doubt that threatened to unravel the fabric of my determination. As Kira spoke, I reflected on my moments with Jake, the laughter, the warmth, the sparks of love that had illuminated my world. I had forged this bond not just out of longing but out of choice, an unbreakable connection that refused to let me go. What would I be willing to sacrifice? It became clear I could no longer cower in fear. I was ready to confront whatever lay in the shadows because Jake was worth the fight. "I'll do whatever it takes," I replied, the promise escaping my lips with a clarity that resonated through my soul. "Where do we start?" Kira smirked, an approving nod cascading from her dignified stature. "Good. I'll connect you with someone who knows the ins and outs of this game, someone who can provide a way to find Jake and keep you safe. But once you're in, there will be no turning back." As we shared a look of mutual understanding, a sense of purpose surged within my chest. Kira reached for a piece of paper, scribbling something down before sliding it across the table. "Meet him here tonight. But remember, the price you pay might be steep, and you'll need to be prepared for any consequences." I took the note, feeling the weight of the confrontation ahead. "Thank you." My words felt inadequate, yet gratitude tethered me to this moment. As we exited the bar, Nathan's hand found mine, squeezing it tightly. "Whatever happens, we'll figure it out together, okay?" "Together," I echoed, my heart steadying as I leaned into him. The fear still lingered, but it merged with determination, each breath growing deeper, each heartbeat louder in the rhythm of our fight for Jake. As the sun dipped lower in the sky, painting the horizon in hues of red and orange, we prepared to step deeper into the dark underbelly of the truth. The warmth of the day may fade, but with it, I felt something strong pulling me toward the edge of hope. Tonight would unravel the threads of darkness surrounding Jake, and though uncertainties loomed beneath the surface, my heart steeled with the knowledge that love could light the way through the shadows. Little did I know, as the sun set behind us, that we were about to plunge into a fight that would alter our destinies forever. When the clamor of the city faded into a hush, I realized that all paths had led to this singular moment, an echo of a promise resonating deep within me. Whatever happens, I will bring him home. The whisper of a vow left my lips, cascading into the vastness of the night, where our fears entwined with the light of an unyielding spirit. And somewhere in the darkness, I sensed that Jake, lost and searching, was waiting for me to gather the courage to fight for him just as I had always promised.